in
We'll
case
get
something
started.
goes down,
There
I
you
don't
go.
want to lose it. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Let me just give you a brief introduction to Atlantic Institute from the Lorana perspective. I'll start with I'm Lorana Hughes. It's Lorana in English and it's La Rana in Spanish, which means the frog, which gets me into very interesting conversations in a Spanish speaking country. Little tidbits of information that you probably didn't know you wanted to know. I've been involved with Atlantic Institute for about 4 or 5 years, and the reason that I have maintained my involvement is because the work that they do aligns with my personal values about finding the points of connection in our lives. We have lots of reasons why we can find differences. Sometimes it takes work to remind ourselves of the things that bring us together. And one of the ways that they do this is by encouraging dialogue, exposure to things that are different. And one of the things that that has allowed me to do in with them is to do these cultural creations classes. I've cooked food from different places. I've done some field trips, and today is no different. As I come huffing and puffing into our field trip bus today, I'm going to take you on a field trip and share with you some of the really neat things that I'm getting to experience in South America and in Cuenca specifically. And one of those things is the renowned artist, Eduardo Segovia. Eduardo Segovia is what is known as a ceramicist. Ceramics is one of his mediums, but he's also a draws and paints and does a variety of art from various disciplines. And one of the things that has happened is that in the borough that he lives in, borough number 45 here in Cuenca, a city that has 150 boroughs, one of the individual that is the president of the borough association is Andres Zambrano. He happens to own La Guarida, which is a restaurant that is a farm to table restaurant. And he and I met one because he has dinner and a movie. And I've gone and I began to learn about his restaurant. As a retired farmer, one of the things that gave me joy in getting to know him and his restaurant is that he sources from the local farmers, including a few of the women farmer co-ops here in the region. That for me was enough for me to say I want to support the work he does, and I try to go visit every now and then to the activities that he has. He's rooted in this community, and one of the people in this community is Segovia, Mr. Senor Segovia. And one of the things that they have taken upon themselves to do is to beautify their community with art. One of the fabulous things about Cuenca that I'm getting to know is the beautiful mural art. Think graffiti, but done with the most beautiful and colorful artistic flair all over the city, everywhere you turn. And so in his borough, the borough that not only he and his family, but also Senor Segovia live in, they have begun taking the works of art of Mr. Segovia, who is now an aging old man, but still practicing regularly his artwork, and transposing that into murals around their borough. They've enlisted the help of some additional artists who are taking the opportunity to transfer that work in its fullness onto the empty spaces in their community. We went out with a person who happens to be visiting me here in the International Welcome Center, and she is an international artist as well. One of the art forms that she expresses herself in is photography. And so she personally went along with me on the field trip and took some beautiful pictures of some of the murals in this community. You'll see some of them in the video with Senor Segovia and Andres Zambrano, but you will see some of them at the end that we saw through our own eyes. And I'll tell you which ones are my favorite. And so without further ado, if you'll give me a second to get this screen up and going, I believe I have share privileges. I'm gonna share the whole, Christine, would you give me share privileges on the computer So the second screen that comes up that may not have my location.
Yep, got it.
I'm going to share that tab.
I was gonna say you have share privileges, but I forgot it's on that one.
I'm being complicated today. I'm needing help today. This is community at its best when you know you need help. And so what I'd like to do, there are portions of this. I will make sure I put the link in there for those that want to see all of it. With time, I wanted to leave time for us to talk, and now technical difficulties. And so I'm going to share two excerpts from this. One, Andres talking about this project. The second, I'm going to share with you a clip of Mr. Segovia. And this is one of those things of cultural appreciation. He will be speaking in Spanish and there will be subtext in English. So it's going to require you to do a little bit of work in reading the subtext, but I felt like sharing it in his own words was appropriate, in just sharing culture and the diversity that we live in. I live in a Spanish speaking community, and so I do my best to interact in Spanish. And so this will give you some of the experience that I am having here as well. And then after that, I will show you some of the personal artwork from Ayade, who is the artist that's here on visit with me at this time. So with your patience, appreciate it. We're going to begin. Please listen and share with me.
Give you more information, to talk about the meanings, to talk about where they come from. So come, join us. So the mural project just sort of started in two phases, I would say, to be honest. The first phase started when I became president of the neighborhood Convención del 45, and the idea was to sort of change our image through culture, through color, through art. So we started this mural project. We began thinking about this mural project. However, it was Paul Marquis, a friend of ours, that started doing murals at Tandacatu, which is the closest neighborhood to us, our neighbors. And he started doing it on the Tranvia route, and then the neighbors really liked it. It really changed the face of Tandacatu. It made it more colorful, more playful, and also it did something that was great. It avoided people's tagging in places where people would usually tag. So it was a form to combat that through actually giving street artists, just urban artists, a place to paint and to really express themselves. So what we came up with Paul was to ask neighbors, to ask businesses around the area, friends of La Guarida, friends of Paul, to donate money. And also we asked Ted Davis to do a concert, and then we started like that the project. We raised around $1,800, 2,000 I believe it was. I don't remember the exact figure. I can give you that, John. We have a chart and everything of how the money has been spent. But then with that money we started the murals. And at first the people here in my neighborhood were very skeptical. Nobody wanted to, give a wall for this project. So we started in our communal house, which as a president I oversee. So let's go check out that first mural that we did, and then how slowly that first mural started convincing people that it actually looked cool and that it avoided people tagging in places that were usually bad, like we see here in this street, which we wanted to do but the neighbor refused. So let's go check out the first mural. So the idea with the murals was to represent a part of Convención del 45, what really made us. And part of that, here we did a lot of ceramic back in the day. And one of the greatest ceramicists that we have, an iconic figure in Cuenca, is Maestro Eduardo Segovia. And we asked Maestro Eduardo Segovia if he wanted to do something for his neighborhood, and he was delighted to contribute all of his art for us to curate and to put up in walls. What the reason that we began here, again, it's because it's our communal house, and also because we did it in a door, because áreas históricas, historic areas here in Cuenca, they wouldn't allow us, they wouldn't give us permission to it. They wouldn't want to do urban art, and especially they didn't want to do this kind of urban art, which appeared to them a little too modern and just difficult to understand. So they truly prefer just little paths, little traditional anything that's traditional. If you have dancing women in polleras, then they would love that kind of stuff. If you had bread making, or if you had just, I don't know, anything that it is more towards or gearing towards folklore, that's what they prefer. So we said no. Um, we're gonna do it in our door, and then we did it in our door, which they don't have any right to say anything to us because it's not protected by historic areas. And then we started doing more. And the second mural is right next to us, which is in my grandparents' house. So I asked my family to allow me to do one, and then we did another door, because this door was also prominently tagged. People will write on it, and now I believe it's around 2.5, 3 years where nobody has touched it. It looks great. And mainly what we did is take Maestro Segovia's drawings. We added a color with his permission, and we had two wonderful artists work on this. Cristina and Edgar, they're a wonderful couple. A lot of people know them because of Idiom Art, because they work there, because they're muralists, and they have, I believe, the most murals in the city by square meter. And they're just incredible. They're professional, and they went ahead and they did a big copy of Maestro Eduardo Segovia's work. So it's except for the colors I added, it's a perfect copy of Segovia's work. So there are loopholes everywhere, and one of those places where you can find loopholes is in historic areas. So historic areas won't allow you to do murals in patrimonial buildings, even with the permission of the owner. So one of the ways to work around it is the side of patrimonial houses. As you may have noticed, in El Centro there are murals, but there are just on the sides of patrimonial houses. For some reason, the laws of historic areas cease there. So we went ahead, we didn't have permission yet. We had many meetings with the director of this area of Cuenca, which is very slow and very prehistoric. They wouldn't allow us, so we say, we will do it and ask for forgiveness later. And we went ahead and did it in this one because it has a couple of things that it's interesting. In fact, it is not a patrimonial building, because the neighbor on this side of the house, which is not a patrimonial house, had built a new wall. So essentially we were painting on a wall that was in patrimony. However, we wanted to test the waters, and this is where we came up, El Degollador by Maestro Eduardo Segovia. Patrimonial house, once we were considered heritage by UNESCO, and given that, the municipality decided to protect every single building that had a patrimonial value, which just means a historical value. So when it was built, how it was built. So a lot of adobe houses in the center of the city, and actually outside, some of them are considered patrimony and they are protected. So it's not that like you can just go ahead and bring them down. You have to rebuild them, and there are extreme laws. For example, in Cuenca's historic center, you have to rebuild it exactly as is. Mm-hmm. So there's really very little playground there where you can add more bathrooms and stuff. There are things you can do, but that's about it, So a lot of these buildings that you see them build, they work around that. However, here, La Guarida, for example, which was also a patrimonial house, we only had to build the first casket as it was, and then after that we could throw everything down. We decided to keep more of it as it was, and then we're planning to get a new house, and that's how we know that, for example, there you just have to keep the facade. So if you just kept the facade and made a movie theater, behind that facade, you could do that. If you wanted to do a disco, if you wanted to do a garden, so there are different laws that govern that. So the idea was sort of think about how we could affect the tram also, and how people could see our murals and be proud of the work we've done using the tramway. So here's another one that we did, asking our family to allow us, and we wanted to sort of be playful, to be colorful. These murals are this actual work of Maestro Segovia is in black and white, but we added colors because my little brother lives here and she wanted the birds to have color. So we went ahead and did it with my permission. So it's a smaller one, but we'll continue to show you other ones. So most homeowners in Cuenca are probably 100% acquainted with this problem, that electrical boxes in Cuenca are a great, incredible place to tag. And I was tired of La Guarida being tagged and just looking ugly. So here we applied a different concept. We went ahead, we measure our electric boxes very well. And as you know, it's sort of cheap to print in Cuenca really cool things. So we printed an adhesive of a Maestro Segovia painting. And we just cut up our little holes and then we change our electrical boxes. They haven't been tagged and it makes La Guarida look cooler. All right. So here we have another replica of Maestro Segovia's work. We added a little bit of color to sort of make it more playful, make it more people can see a little bit better from the tram path. And this is called the Coyote Hunter. So little by little, as we did more and more murals, we started to see a changing in the neighbors. They actually started coming to me and be like, hey, can you come and do a mural for us? That was this case of this pediatric center where they work with children, and she really asked me to do something playful where the children can come see, and he also thought it was a great idea because the doors of the tranvia open and then they would get to see this mural and they would get to be acquainted with Segovia. Again, here I took a painting of Segovia, a drawing of Segovia, and I had to accommodate it on Photoshop to this actual space, and then I gave it to Christina and Edgar, which they made a replica, adding color to the little birds depending on how playful we felt that day. So here we have little birds on a children's center here in the Convention del 45. So after completing 7 different murals with the help of neighbors, with fundraising alongside Paul Marquis, just doing different events at La Guarida, such as Candelazo Stories, we decided to ask the Cultural Affairs Office here in Cuenca to help us create more murals. So we then went ahead, we received a little bit of funds from them, and then we started creating more murals, which allow us to do 13 more to make it a total of 20 murals, and this is one of them. Okay, so part of the idea when I curated the murals was to recover forgotten places that perhaps didn't look good, that were tagged constantly, and also places that could help them highlight their businesses. And this is their case in this mechanic, which the neighbor loved the idea, and then we added some color and we added a mural so people won't tag, especially considering that they're right next to a high school, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, I guess we sort of arrived to the Warriors Corner. We wanted to do and pay homage to warriors, especially because in this corner we have a high school that serves around 1,100 kids. So we sort of wanted them to get acquainted with Maestro Eduardo Segovia's work, which we should mention, Maestro Eduardo Segovia never charged a penny for the use of his work, of his drawings. He was actually very kind to gift that to the neighborhood. And this is the Warriors Corner. So here we are just in front of Victor Gerardo Aguilar High School. The idea was to work with the high school to change their facade, to really make kids imagine that it was possible and that tagging wasn't the only way to cover up their walls. It was also a way to recover their high school because their high school was highly tagged, and not the best tags. Lots of bad words, lots of foul-mouthed things that I couldn't say on camera. Um, and again, this is part of the Warriors Corner. And right at the entrance of the high school, we have two warriors, two exact replicas of Maestro Eduardo Segovia's work. Here we didn't add color, here we didn't add anything, we just did exact replicas. Again, Christina and Edgar were super professional because some of these works are a little tough, as you may notice. Many people that know Maestro Eduardo Segovia know of his vast imagination. This imagination is sort of being fed by countless of books he's read, by a lot of research he's done into different prehistoric tribes from all over Latin America, from all over America, in fact. So here we have the snake hunter, and here you can see sort of a bunch of different ideas put together that make Maestro Segovia's very unique, where he will borrow from Incas, from Mayans, from Aztecs, and really it just becomes his mythical warrior. It becomes the warrior in the head of Segovia. Sort of, if you ever speak to him, he will tell you that he was in the museum when he was 6 years old, and he took classes there, and there he just got inspired, and it just blew his mind away. So I guess it's similar to some kids that right now are watching Marvel and are thinking of the superheroes. Segovia thought the same way about these warriors, these mythical warriors, and after close to 80 years he keeps on creating them, he keeps on giving them life and color, and this is one, the snake hunter. The project is all about Eduardo Segovia. However, Eduardo Segovia is such a cool human being that we wanted to also pay homage to his work. And what best way to pay homage to his work, to see a clash between sort of this iconic figure and new emerging figures in Cuenca, artists. So part of the project with the municipality was to find young artists to get inspired by Maestro Eduardo Segovia's work and take his work and just do what they thought would represent Segovia in a work. I was so lucky, so fortunate to be able to convince Jonathan Mosquera. It wasn't hard because he loves Segovia, to create these two incredible murals that he did. Jonathan Mosquera is one of the most exciting, prominent, just incredible young minds in Cuenca, an incredible painter, and I think his work speaks for itself. This is what Raiz, which is calling that's his urban name. Raiz, Jonathan Mosquera, that's what Jonathan Mosquera reinterpret of Maestro Eduardo Segovia's work. Another really cool thing that happened in this project was sort of the collaboration again with this young artist meeting Eduardo Segovia, and nothing as humble as Jonathan Mosquera asking Maestro Eduardo Segovia, because two of his works, two of his drawings and paintings here are of actual Maestro Eduardo Segovia's work. We have a vase there, and then we have a Greek goddess that Maestro calls it. But then Jonathan asked Segovia to sign the work with him. So Maestro did that. So we have Eduardo Segovia's and Raiz, which is his street name, in a wall in Cuenca, which I don't think that has ever been done. So I find that the coolest thing ever. It's just humorous.
The Hulk?
The Hulk. And this is just a funny thing, I should say, because Maestro just saw, and I'll show you, come this way. Maestro just saw a Hulk in El Centro, which is right here. It cost him $2.
Oh.
And he made a mold out of it, and he created Hulks, ceramic Hulks. You know, so that's sort of who Maestro Segovia is. He just did that, I think, less than a year ago. You can see that he has his spirit still there. This is the kiln room. This is where sort of all of these pieces come alive. Here you can also see some of the works that Jonathan got inspired upon. For example, the one up there, the Greek goddess. Again, a lot of his work that's very representative of this sort of language that he's created, that sort of a mural look there. So he sort of plays around with this I don't know, inspiration that he received from different artists, from different works, from his surroundings, from Cuenca.
Y el
La
pollo
Chola.
del mural.
Oh,
Sí.
El del mural que está afuera. Mire, en primer lugar, buenas tardes, muchas gracias por la visita, de que estén aquí, me siento bastante orgulloso y justamente con Andresito, que no soy yo el principal, somos todos los principales de los murales. Andrés porque es el que ha logrado conseguir que el señor alcalde dé un auspicio y se pueda pintar en la calle. Yo me siento bastante orgulloso de que mis trabajos puedan servir para el barrio, para la comunidad. Soy un artista que desde muy pequeño me he venido desenvolviendo en la cuestión de la cerámica y para mí todo es una cosa muy maravillosa porque yo pienso que yo no estoy trabajando, yo vivo jugando y por jugar me pagan para comer. Entonces mi trabajo es solo de juego, mi trabajo es muy importante porque desde niño comencé a hacer arcilla y estoy ya haciendo arcilla, manejando arcilla con mis manos casi cerca de 80 años. Pero es tan complejo como todas las manifestaciones de artistas, es muy complejo, a pesar de mis 80 años de haber manejado y vivido en el arte, he aprendido muy poco, casi no sé mucho, me faltan otros 80. Me siento una cosa muy pequeña, diminuta, pensar que la gente puede ver una cosa tan amplia, tan grande. Me siento un hombre de privilegio, un hombre que he compartido mi trabajo, no para mí, para el resto de la comunidad, para el mundo, para mi Cuenca, para mi país, para el mundo. Y siempre donde voy soy orgulloso de mi querida Cuenca, de mi querida trabajadora, de mis trabajadores, de mi gente y de mi país. Y agradezco a Dios por haberme dado este significado de habilidad para poder transmitir y que mi trabajo sirva de algo y lo mejor es que le guste a la gente. Pero todavía estoy aprendiendo. Lo que pasa es que ya estoy muy viejo y creo que ya no voy más.
son las personas que visitan acá. ¿Cómo hacen para visitar acá?
Ah, sí, me llaman, tengo un teléfono convencional de la casa y me dan una llamadita, me dicen, Eduardo, te vamos a ir a visitar para comprarte una cerámica y vienen. Yo siempre les espero y eso por un lado. Por otro lado, cuando van a la guarida, donde también están mis obras, Andrés dice, bueno, quieren ir a ver al maestro, vamos, aquí les vamos a vender y de esa manera hay los contactos para poder comercializar las obras. Y siempre vienen gente de todo el mundo, de Asia, de Europa, más de Centroamérica, perdón, de Norteamérica, Centroamérica y un poco de Sudamérica. Bueno, Andrés y señores, eso ya es la parte suya también que usted los ha conseguido, pero para mí me engrandecen ellos y son parte también de los artistas de la ciudad. Cuenca los ha parido y Cuenca los ha engrandecido y yo me siento más orgulloso de que por intermedio suyo, por el contacto suyo, hayan podido plasmar y ha sido una cosa que tenga el barrio, que la gente de cualquier parte, nacionales, extranjeros y del mundo, vengan a ver y admiren un poco y que nuestro barrio de esa manera sea un poco más conocido. Y gracias a usted por la entrevista, gracias por estar en mi casa, gracias Andrés, pensamos que todavía me queda un hálito de vida para continuar haciendo un poquito más. Vamos a ver si avanzamos dos más.
So with the Segovia project, we sort of wanted to break all the molds, all the references that we had. So in Cuenca, there is not a series of murals created around one single artist or paying homage to one single artist. And it also happens to be that we broke all the rules a little bit because La Guarida is a patrimonial building and historic areas wouldn't allow us However, we got the mayor to come celebrate with us the opening of the murals, the inauguration of the murals, and walk with him and his wife around. And I said, hey, listen, are they gonna bother me about my mural in my patrimonial house? And he said, absolutely no. Patrimony, we keep creating patrimony as it goes along. So thinking about that, if you think about a lot of those beautiful paintings that you have in some of historic houses in Cuenca, they would have never been created if artists weren't allowed to express themselves. So now we are expressing ourselves in different ways. That's like why at La Guarida we're so proud to have a beautiful black and white Segovia, actually two Segovias, and a one that Maestro has done. We also have after the after the murals at Capilla del Hombre and Osvaldo Guayasamin's museum, we also have uh, the biggest ceramic mural that Segovia created. And we have a bunch of other ceramic murals at La Guarida, and hopefully we'll be able to get more. So we're very, very proud to display Segovia's work because he's an icon of the city and an icon of this neighborhood. So La Guarida has become, Maestro Segovia, in fact, lived in La Guarida around 70 years ago. And that's why we decided to just cover La Guarida with his paintings, and he was so kind, such a beautiful gesture that he gifted us a mural right during the pandemic when we couldn't get out. He called it Party at La Guarida because he says that this place is a happy place for him and that it reminds him when he was young. So please join us at La Guarida whenever you want to see Segovia's work. You can call us, you can reach me. We'll always be able to give you the tour. We want you to get to see our neighborhood. We want you to see what we're here to offer. We want you to walk around our neighborhood, to see the murals. We want you to visit Maestro Eduardo Segovia's house. We want you to come and visit La Guarida and check out all the works that he has. Like, there are no two other murals like this, and we're very happy to have ceramic murals, the biggest ceramic mural that Segovia has done after Osvaldo Guayasamin's Capilla del Hombre. There cannot be a higher honor for us. So if you want a little bit of Segovia, let me know, call me, text me. I'll be happy to take you on a tour. I'll be happy to have you meet, arrange a meeting with him. So just come to La Guarida, come to Convención del 45, come to Eduardo Segovia. We're a beautiful neighborhood. Happily, we have destroyed some of the negative stereotypes. We'll continue to work on that. Cuenca has a lot to offer, and this is just a tiny little part that you get to see.
How many of you were thrilled by that experience of seeing some of the information?
I thought that was quite cool, quite interesting.
And it gets better. Let me deal with my audio right this minute. Hold on.
I was gonna say we have murals around town here in Hartwell, and we've had people complain. Oh, I can't believe what they put on here, and oh, they put this. No, they wasted taxpayer money to pay that, paint that. But you know, and I'm just like, it's a mural, like it's supposed to, it, you know, it
Well,
adds
there
some
was a little
culture.
bit of opposition at the beginning, but sometimes you have to just get started.
Yeah.
And this, I hope you will go and see the video that they've done in entirety. It's about 45 minutes, but I wanted to take an opportunity to share with you some of the work of Empress Ayade. I believe she is in the room with us today.
I am.
And so welcome. She is hailing from Atlanta, Georgia. She is here in residency at the International Welcome Center. And I'm going to share this screen as we look at some of the works that we got to experience firsthand. Give me just a moment. This particular borough number 45, as you heard him talk, and he shared in a portion of that video how they started. he is now not only the owner of La Guarida restaurant, which is what you were seeing there at the end, but he is also now the president of their neighborhood association. Interesting tidbits and points of connection. My next door neighbor, Marco Delgado, is the individual that over 47 years ago created the Borough Association for here in Cuenca. There are over 150 boroughs, and each of them has a borough president, kind of like your neighborhood go-to person that really takes on responsibility for the care and the stewarding of the neighborhood. And so as he has moved into this role, the roll down doors are not bound by the historic preservation guidelines. And so he said at one point in the video, you do it and ask for permission later. I mean, ask for apology, ask for forgiveness later. And so they felt that this was a safe place to begin. And so this was one of the beginning murals. Some of the work that Eduardo Segovia does is in black and white. Some of the others, as he explained, they have taken creative liberty to add some coloring to it. But this is one of the ones that's done true to the style that he would have done in black and white.
Can I just say, I think that's actually kind of neat that he gave them the allowance to add color and have some creative liberty with that, with color. I thought that was actually really nice, because some people are very protective, I know, of their art and how it's supposed to be and this and that. But I'm looking at this old man thinking he's probably,
it seems like a very connected project where he was involved every step of the way, and it was respectful. And then these young artists are the ones, some of them, he did some of the paintings, but some of these, many of them, these young artists.
I'm looking at this older man and I'm thinking, like, you know, he's probably at the point where he even said, I might not live that long, which I think is something that we have an older man that down the road says, finish your projects that I'm helping you with, because I'm not going to be here forever, you know.
So Eduardo Segovia is in his 80s.
Yeah, and so I think he's probably going, sure, go ahead, add some color. Very cool.
This has been his lifelong work. And so this is another one. As you can see, there's strategy in the community, testing the waters. This is one of them that was done with some coloring added. And let's see if I can zoom this in. On the bottom, you see the C and E. That's Christina and Edgar, who are the two that helped to reproduce these works. And they are supposed to be an exact match for his work, or as close as possible. So many of the reproductions, you'll see that C and E, and that represents those two individuals that he spoke about. Lots of symbology. Some of the favorite ones that I really enjoy are the birds. And as he explained, it depended on how festive and happy they were that day and which colors got chosen. Now, these are placed in some very strategic locations. One of the murals that you'll see is placed right outside. You heard him say Tranvia. The Tranvia is a light rail train that runs through town. We have a very integrated transportation system, and one of the new additions to this community in recent years has been the electric light rail train that we take around town for 35 cents a ride. Seniors get it half price, which is a really great deal. But the birds and the imagery of that just feel playful and loving. He talked about the electrical boxes and taking some of his works and being able to dress up those boxes. And as you can see, some of the representations that he's done right on the electrical box. One of the other things that that is something that I found here in Cuenca that I have also fallen in love with, and that are the ceramic murals. We have some of the artists here that do murals that are 40 or 50 feet tall, and they're tile by tile by tile done. This is a smaller version on the outside of La Guarida, the restaurant where he was talking about a little bit earlier in the video. This is a new mural. This is one that was done this year. Bright colors, imagery. The birds seem to be a theme in some of the works.
I like those ones. I think those are cute. And I think he said even some of those were adhesives, right? It sounded like
So over the
it's like
electrical boxes, the way that they've been able to affix them is to take them, scale them to size,
right.
do the cutouts, and then adhere them to the wall,
right.
to
Yeah.
the metal
Very cool.
those boxes would have. Again, they've added color to some of his works for visibility and just to add a little bit of extra excitement. This is another one that I just love. The images, the symbols. This is the side of a building where you can see, again, the birds flying. And the C and E reference there, that this is a reproduction by those two individuals, Christine and Edgar. And since we've got just a few minutes, I'd like, if Empress would like to come on and share just a little bit from a photographer and from an artist standpoint, just some of her feedback. And I'm so glad to have her here with us today as the artist taking note and documenting this particular artist today. Any comments or feedbacks that you would like to share about the experience going and seeing another artist and his works around town here in
Yeah.
Cuenca?
Well, it was an absolute honor to be able to see some of this artwork. Since I've been here in Cuenca, I want to see some art. I want to see some art and meet some artists, and to see his work really inspired me. It kind of got my creative juices flowing again since I've, me having made such a big move, and then being able to see his artwork got my creative mind flowing again. So I love the colors. I like, like what she said, how he allowed artists or other people to have a say so in some of the colors. That was very generous of him as an artist. And I too like the birds. The birds, birds are something that kind of circles in my narrative, dealing with my life and my life story. So I felt connected with the birds from, other levels. And I like the abstract work. From what I see, he goes with what he feels, and it's not about what other people think or um, what other people are gonna say about it. It's him. It's what he likes to do, and he's true and authentic to himself. And I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed walking around looking at the artwork. And to me, art transforms stale environments. Art has the power to heal, and yeah, it was an honor to walk through the neighborhood and witness that.
Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And Ida, if you have an art link or your Instagram link, the chat would be a great place to let people know about that. Some of these, again, are these last two murals, this one and this one, are in the location that he mentioned, the high school. These are on the high school walls there that he was talking about. And this supplants what has been there by taggers, graffiti artists that may be putting things on the wall, as he said, that he can't say on video, that might give a different message than the message that this gives.
I'm going to put my links in the comments.
And so thank you today, Ayade, thank you for joining me and for going along live on this field trip. And Atlantic Institute, thank you for continuing to host these kinds of events so that we can share about so many things that bring us together. One of the things that I found out, reconfirmed for me, is that there are some things that transcend our barriers. The art knows no language. You're able to see it in your own language and understand it in your own way. Things like art and music and food are oftentimes many of the things that I share on the field trips that I go on. But it's a joy to be able to see some of the richness of this culture that I'm getting to experience. This is a city that Senor Edward is not the only one that does this. Every time you turn around, there's beautiful mural art all over the city. And so that is one of the joys. One of my friends, who's also an immigrant here, I follow him on Facebook and he goes out every day and takes pictures. And so often, every single day, I see new pictures of places that I haven't been yet with some of the beauty that's been shared by the artist here. Not only the murals, but the ceramic murals that are done here on many of the buildings and places around town that I get the privilege of seeing day in and day out. And so I'll stop right there and thank you for letting me share. If there's any questions in the last few minutes, thank you for the comments. Great shots indeed, Karen. They were, and I'm so grateful for Empress Ayade participating in this field trip live with me today. If there's any questions, I've put the link in there for you. Save that link before you leave the room today so that you can go, and if you'd like to, watch the entire video as Andres takes you through the neighborhood and tells you a little bit more than you were able to see today during our field trip session about the work of Senor Eduardo. Any questions this afternoon, this evening, about what you saw? Any comments, anything you'd like to share as we get ready to close this field trip and get off the bus and go home to our homes this evening?
I think it's just very cool to see all those different murals.
You'd
I
like
think
to
it's very
thank
cool.
all-
I think it's cool because I know that here there's programs that the UGA students and stuff like that put, will go and paint murals, and there's different organizations that'll go and paint murals in different places around town. But it's kind of neat to see how it's done in other cultures and other parts of the world too.
Well, it has been my joy to come and share with you another field trip. I'm Lorana Hughes. I'm again coming to you from Cuenca, Ecuador. It has been a pleasure to take you all along on this field trip with me.
Lorana, do you have the date for your next trip, your next event? I think it's part 2, correct?
Let's see, in May, we will be doing a part 2 of the genealogy. Donnie also will be coming back. There's so much to share on the first one that he did in January.
So if you guys were on the January call that we did on the genealogy discussion, there was so much to discuss in that conversation, and was quite educational and interesting. So if you were on that discussion, the video for that is on our YouTube channel. I would advise you to rewatch some of that because there was homework in there for those of us that are going to be on the second call to do. And I need to get my button gear because I need to get the homework done. Because sometimes, like for some of us that are tracing back some of our ancestry, the way it was explained really helps you to understand it. So I just want to make sure you all know that if you're going to be on part 2 of the genealogy conversation, you want to watch the video for part 1 and look at some of the homework that's supposed to be done so that we can all fully understand everything.
Let me get that date. I am pulling up our May calendar.
Yeah, I know. I should know these things, but
I don't want to say it out loud because it'll just be made up in my own mind. Let's see if I can quickly get the date. All right, it is going to be, let's see, May, genealogy part 2.
Karen, it should be on Eventbrite, but it may not be on there yet.
May 25th at noon.
What day?
May 25th, which will be a Saturday.
Okay.
At noon, we'll be gathering again with Donnie Austin to do Are We More Connected Than We Think? An exploration into genealogy part 2. So you have until May 25th to catch up on genealogy. He gives you some tidbits and pointers on getting started, and he's going to go further into helping us find ways of connection.
So one quick question. You said noon. Is that noon your time or is that 1 o'clock our time?
That is noon Eastern Daylight Savings Time,
Okay.
11 a.m. Ecuadorian and Central Time. We don't do
Okay.
daylight savings. So this half of the year, I'm on equivalent of what Central Time Zone is. So that would be noon. Wait a minute, that's noon. Everything's listed on the calendar at Eastern Standard Time, but I think that's
Yeah.
Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
It should be Eastern Standard Time. It should be Eastern Standard Time then. Okay.
Wait a minute, wait. Is that Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Savings Time?
No, it's just gonna be daylight savings time. It's gonna be whatever time it is here, Eastern.
Okay, so that's gonna be noon.
Because our
in South
brains don't work
Carolina.
better than that.
Okay, so daylight savings times noon. We got clarification. Daylight savings times noon. That'll be 11 a.m. Central and Ecuadorian time.
Yes, there you go.
So that and other events on the calendar of events. So please, if you haven't checked the website for Atlantic Institute, if you're not following, so that you get the links from Eventbrite or the Facebook page, I encourage you to do that. There's quite a few really wonderful cultural experiences that are available. And the information that Ayade put in there for her photography and her art site, definitely please check that out. We're so glad to have her here in Ecuador and along on the field trip to be able to share really wonderful pictures, because Lorana puts raggedy pictures up on the internet, including the Atlantic Institute field trips that she goes on. So thank you for coming along and providing such beautiful representations of the work of Eduardo Segovia. And we thank you for coming. Are there any other housekeeping things before we close out and say goodbye from this field trip? Anything from you, Christine? We thank you again. We thank you all for coming and joining us, and we wish you a good night. Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Gail.